Right, when I say the name Megan Follows, what comes to mind?
But I cannot imagine my red hair away. It'll be my lifelong sorrow.
For many of us, it's that little red-headed orphan from PEI. After all, the Anne of Green Gables miniseries, first broadcast on the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, would become one of the highest-rated Canadian television dramas of all time.
How dare you!
And Shirley.
Won Megan a Gemini when she was just 18. Now, that was 25 years ago, and there's way more to Megan than just little Anne Shirley. So let's go back a bit. Drama is in her blood. Not literally, because that would be weird. Her parents, Ted Follows and Dawn Greenhouse, are both stars of the theatre. They were once known as the Fighting Follows, and with good reason. They split when Megan was just 11. Family, though, still plays a tremendous role in her life. A little girl who started acting at age 9 has 2 kids of her own, and Megan's appeared in just about every major TV show, everything from Law and Order and House to Heartland to my favorite, Hockey Night.
I'd like to try out.
There's a girls' field hockey team over at the school.
Scarborough Hawks, city champions 2 years running, 2.1 goals against average, 9 regular season shutouts, MVP in divisional finals, and a fast glove hand.
Lately, Megan's been commanding the stage. She's got the lead in a Toronto production of The Penelopiad, Margaret Atwood's retelling of the story of the Odyssey, but from the point of view of the hero's long-suffering wife. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
What's going on?
Woo! I'm here.
You were here. I was very young when my Uncle Paul gave me the Iliad and the Odyssey to read. And I never really thought I was too young to put it in a different context. And then when this one comes out, it completely turns us on. I mean, talk about this play and what you're doing.
It's completely...
The Penelopiad.
Is based on Margaret Atwood's book, The Penelopiad, or the Penelopiad.
Penelopiad.
We're saying the Penelopiad. And she wrote the play. So it's really Penelope's point of view of the 20 years of her life and the 20 years she waited for Odysseus to return to Ithaca while she was fending off the suitors and protecting her homeland and staying ever chaste and faithful to Odysseus.
It's got to be, as a performer or as an artist, so interesting to be able to do that kind of project, because those don't come around too often.
No.
There are very few Atwoods, if there are no other Atwoods.
No, there are no other Atwoods. She has an incredibly distinctive, fascinating, challenging, brilliant voice that you gotta suit up and step up for. And so it's a ride.
When Michelle Landsberg was on the show recently, we were talking about what feminism is today, and that a lot of women reject the term feminism, but they don't really reject the notion of it.
Yeah, I find that terrifying that women would reject the idea of, yeah, I think that's a big mistake.
What does feminism mean to you today?
You know, what does it mean? It means, I think that we have to not be seduced into thinking we have an equality that we don't really have. I think that there is still a double standard that exists. I think we are have many more opportunities, and particularly in our part of the world, than a lot of women do not have. And I've traveled to different parts of the world through work. I've done stills photography on a friend's documentary in Cambodia, working with children. And I would see the condition of the girls and the women, the children in general, but there's things that we are protected from more in the Western hemisphere, and thank God we have what we have, but it doesn't mean the other issues have gone away. So I'm a single parent. I have a daughter. I have a son as well, and I want first and foremost to be acknowledged sort of for who I am and the contribution I make and what I find as a woman and as an actress. You get this pressure as you get older that your value becomes less. There's a real obvious one we can put out there. And I think, well, what's the alternative? I don't get older? I don't bring the quality of who I am and my experience to what I have to offer, so that my value is more at a certain point than now? That's kind of insane. Sure. And very disempowering. So
I think that's, I will often say that people will blame TV too much, but I think TV can bear the brunt of the blame on this one in a lot of ways.
Television, and North American television in particular. I think that other countries and the Brits are more mature in who they show, and of people of all ages and races, and playing roles of significance and power. And we tend to still you know, value a certain type of image of something. And
So you're raising your kids. People always talk about the idea of teaching these values to young girls, but it's equally important, if not more important, to teach them to the sons, isn't it?
absolutely.
What kind of conversations do you have with them about this?
Well, you know, he's a 17-year-old son. You know, I find young, he's like incredibly aware of some things, and then, you know, if I didn't make him a sandwich, he might starve to death. So.
Listen, let me tell you, Megan, I'm 39. It doesn't change.
You know. Whereas my daughter, like, will whip up a gourmet meal, and I'm sort of like, wow, dude, you're hungry. Open the fridge, like, put the you know, okay. No. So, but he's seen, you know, he also has an incredibly strong sister. And she is very intelligent and powerful. So he's, you know, and my mother's, he's got a lot of strong women around. The kid, he hasn't got a chance of not embracing strong women. He's got a lot of them around him.
I'm sure I mean, I know a lot of people talk to you about Green Gables and all that, but one of the very first times that I saw the idea of equality addressed in TV was in Hockey Night.
Yeah.
You know, where you played a goalie, right?
All right,
yeah.
Mom.
You know, Mom, a goalie.
Yeah.
And it's funny that I think it's just recently a couple of girls in Brampton were awarded a settlement because they wanted, you know, the right place to get changed, essentially, right? And more than that, do people still bring up that show to you ever, aside from me?
No, yeah, definitely. That one was, and particularly in this country, it was a beginning of, it was a big deal, the Hockey Night.
Those sorts of conversations.
Yeah, and I think, you know, as we bring up the famous redhead, you know, what was so ultimately to me so powerful about that story and why it's withstood the test of time was ultimately you took a girl who at the time had no value. They're disappointed she's not a boy, and through her wits and her intelligence, she wins over a community basically by being true to who she is and being allowed to have a place in that.
What's your relationship like with that character now? We're talking Anne of Green Gables, in case you're wondering.
Yeah, right.
On the off
You know
chance-
that redhead character?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people who are new to this country who may not necessarily know or didn't come across it.
Although I will say it's a fascinating journey for me because when I travel in many places in the world, everywhere I've been, someone will have seen that, and it will have had a very significant impact on them, particularly women, to see themselves as a primary characters, that their voice was number one, that they weren't defined by they weren't a peripheral character. They weren't the girlfriend of, the daughter of first. And that's what's so brilliant. She's an orphan. She has no family connection, so what she is a person. And that, I'll tell you, you know, briefly, I met a gentleman in Los Angeles, and he was an incredible tradesman, and he was talking about how he learned his trade. He was a stainer, but originally his family had come from Guatemala, and he'd had a very rough, he'd been involved in a lot of gangs growing up, and he had ended up having to be in a program. And he'd said, you know, when he realized that who I was, he didn't recognize me at first, and then we're talking, and then his face kind of went very still. While he was in this youth center, he'd gone from being a gang member, very violent. His family was very patriarchal. His father had sort of, I think, beaten his mother quite a bit, and he had a very low opinion of women. And somewhere stuck in this program on PBS, Anne of Green Gables had been on, and he'd been watching it. And he said that it transformed his idea of what being female meant, that the value that women and that girls had, and he hadn't realized that. And it was completely shifted his perspective. So, I mean, that's an extraordinary thing to have been a part of. I'm really proud that we hit the right note with Anne, that we achieved that, so.
All right, stick around. We're going to get more into that and some old footage for you. Anthropology when we come back.
Spirit! Oh, Spirit, you're safe. Oh, I'm so scared.
Oh, that's hysterical.
We're back with Megan Follows. Yeah, look, Hockey Night, Green Gables, dude, that's the littlest hobo.
That is the littlest hobo. That, you know, I've got status, man.
But that's your... You're like your real-life parents.
Those are my real-life parents, but what I remember the most funny thing about the Littlest Hobos, they were actually 7 dogs. The one that could sit the best, the one that could jump the best, and then the trainer would be screaming, sit, bow, sit, paw, lick, jump. So you'd be acting.
First of all, there's only one Littlest Hobo. I don't know what she's on about.
Sorry.
There's only one dog.
I've just shattered illusions.
But you know what's funny, because that in itself is a great moment, and that is with your real-life parents, but didn't that happen, that scene was only a few years after your parents had split up.
Yes, that's true.
So that would be a big part of your consciousness at that time.
Yes, yeah, it was. I mean, my parents are crazy. But, you know, they, first and foremost, they loved also their work. So they were always true to that.
What did your success mean to the family, or how did they react to it?
Incredibly embracing. I mean, my biggest champion has always been my mom, who also gave up a lot to travel around with me when I was younger and put in a lot of time. And that's a hard thing to do when you're an actress, sit around and watch somebody else act. You know, it's like, you know, a junkie watching someone else kind of
Get it on.
get hooked up. It's not, but she did it with an incredible amount of dedication and grace. So,
What was it like growing up when your means is being other people? So what does it say? Like, how does your own identity develop as an adult and as a human being when you spend most of your life getting into other people's heads?
Well, I always think, you know, in a way, it's kind of contradictory, but you sort of feel like you never kind of grow up because you're still playing dress up and make believe, but you're actually getting to do that and make a living at it. So how lucky am I?
So as we go through Anthropology right now, survival scenario, the audience of Buddies in Bad Times turns zombie during a production of this play. How do you escape?
How do I escape? Through one of the many exits and winding staircases at Buddies in Bad Times. It's almost impossible to find my way onto the stage, let alone off of it, but I would get out somehow.
So this one here waits 20 years for the return, right, of the man. What's the longest you've waited for something?
Oh, gosh. Could be the bathroom with teenagers.
Yeah, that's scary. So how about this? You're standing on a road, and 20 feet down the road is a clown. It's coming towards you. What do?
I make sure I don't know the clown, first of all.
Do you know a lot of
Have I slept with that clown? I don't know, man. Because if I do, I run in the other direction.
I meant an actual clown, not the proverbial clown.
Okay, sorry.
Clowns don't scare you right there. All right, who do you want to play you in a play about your life?
Oh, ooh, I want you to play me.
Me?
I want to see it. Play me right now. Let me see.
Play you right now?
Yeah. What would you do?
No, I would just do this. I would go like this.
Ooh.
That's all I would know how to do.
Okay.
I've played you a lot in my life.
Have you?
I
Okay,
have,
good to know.
Well, you're a better goaltender than I would ever be. Who's somebody you'd like to say sorry to?
Well, it might be good. Nobody immediately jumps to mind.
Is that because you blocked it out?
Could be. I'm in tremendous denial about a number of things.
There's one clown in Saskatchewan who said...
I might owe a sorry, too. Yeah.
Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Oh, you're so welcome.
My pleasure. Megan Falls, everybody. The Penelope ad opens at Buddies in Bad Times in Toronto on January 12th. Go check it out. We'll be right back.